snow. And any other day, I can't watch you sing every Saturday.
Fathers spend an average of 8 minutes a day with each of their children. What is that doing to the father-child relationship? And in particular, how does the teenage boy chart the turbulent and murky waters between boyhood and manhood without the guidance of his father?
The Pathways Foundation aims to give fathers and sons and their sons the time, skill and motivation to strengthen their relationship, develop resilience and avoid the pitfalls that are so common to boys with remote fathers. Program founder and leader Dr. Arne Rubinstein joins us this morning, along with father of 3, Brad Fisher, who enjoyed the experience so much he signed up to become a group leader. Welcome
morning,
to
gentlemen.
you all.
Good morning.
Brad, can we start with you? Did your sons want to do this?
No. Took a lot of convincing, and in the end we got them along, and both of them really enjoyed it.
Why did you feel like you wanted to take them?
It wasn't because our relationship was bad. In fact, our relationship was great. But I just felt like I've heard this, what the foundation was saying worked for the boys, and I really wanted to make sure that I gave them everything, every foundation that they could build off, self-esteem, and for them to realise their strengths.
Yeah. Arne, let's bring you in here. Let's explain exactly what Pathways is.
Well, we believe our aim is to bring out the best in young men. We want them to be motivated, inspired. That's how we feel that they should be. We have a lot of concern at what we're seeing in teenagers around Australia and the issues that they're facing and the problems that they're dealing with and basically doing on their own. We started doing work about 13 years ago with some fathers and sons, and then we looked into rites of passage and found that every community and Indigenous society always would have had a rite of passage, and we don't have one in our modern society. So we developed a program called Pathways to Manhood for fathers and sons and started running these programs, which we now run all over Australia. And the idea is to have boys and either their fathers or a mentor doing a process that really acknowledges that shift from boy to young man.
And so that's a shift that's occurring, what, early teenagers?
About 13, 14, yeah, when they're in puberty, around 13, 14 years of age. It varies. Some boys a little bit earlier, some a bit later, but at that puberty stage.
So I'm imagining, Brad, that your boys would have kind of thought, Dad, this is a bit lame. You know, so when you actually did encourage them and they finally agreed to go, what were their thoughts? I mean, not only at the end of it, but during the whole process.
Well, they were challenged all the way through, and they were just amazed at seeing how real men could be. And we actually, through the whole...
How, Brad?
In more ways than what we realise. I don't want to give away the mystery of what happens on the camp, but it's men talking about men stuff. It's men getting out of talking about football, meat pies, kangaroos and Holden cars and starting to talk about their hearts and their life's journey.
Out of the head and into the heart.
Absolutely, and the foundation, the Pathways Foundation, make it so safe. It makes it easy for men. I never thought it would be possible.
What's their reaction to that? I mean, I would imagine that would... Because I probably didn't have that kind of relationship with my father, I would imagine that's a bit confronting. But there must be moments when the sons are thinking, oh, I actually don't want to have this conversation with my father, perhaps.
Absolutely, and this is the beginning of becoming a man, and it's getting into hearing journeys about the dark times as well as the good times in a man's journey. And the boys get to witness that, and that's the challenging sort of things. It's not the obvious challenges on that camp.
Yeah. Well, how challenging is it then for a dad to completely open himself up? Yeah. To be so honest and emotional in front of your son, especially when I guess sons see their dads as the, you know, the great protector of the family. That must have been really, really kind of nerve-wracking.
Well, the hard part's really getting to the camp. You need to push and shove, but once there, the men and women in the foundation really make it safe for men to communicate, and it's become so easy. And it's so it's not as hard as it seems. And we can be more real. It actually allows us to be more real with our sons.
Do you think boys at that age are looking for a different relationship with their father? I mean, we talk a lot, and we've had people on the program, we discussed this a lot, the teenage years where the teenagers sort of tend to go in a different direction, into the tunnel is often the expression used. Do you think they're looking for a different relationship?
I think they need a different relationship. I don't know that they really themselves know or that they're looking for it, but we very much...
They're turning away, if anything, from the...
And that is a real worry. You know, we don't want boys navigating those teenage years on their own without being supported, and we actually feel that what is so important is in that time that they actually have a strong and open relationship with their fathers. We also believe that mentoring is extremely important. We want to change the relationships that they have with their mothers. We want it to change from one of mothering to one of respect and healthy communication. And we believe that by having a rite of passage, by really marking this transition, that we can have a big impact on that. And, you know, I mean, I worked in my medical practice for many years that there were so many teenage boys who were shut down, not communicating, depressed, really struggling. And it's a big issue out there, and we don't feel that it has to be that way.
Mm. How have your relationships changed with your boys?
I think we've been given a framework to have really deep, meaningful conversations. And not only that, the experience of the week together was just fantastic. Well, it doesn't leave you at coffee time on Monday. It was a fantastic, deep, meaningful experience.
And they continue to talk about it, don't they?
We do, yeah. And also, it's sort of introduced for me to start giving them more responsibility, to change the way I treated them.
I guess it is. It's a real shift. I mean, as you were saying, the boys might not necessarily be looking for a different relationship, but they need a different relationship at this time in their life to grow as men and to take on that responsibility.
Absolutely. And I have to say the other thing is it's not only boys who need this, it's girls as well. And we've actually started a mother and daughter program, which is going fantastically and expanding as well. And you know,
I so want to do that.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you do. And there's a huge amount of interest, not only in Australia but now internationally around this sort of work. And it's being recognised that there is a gap, there is something missing. That our kids are getting such a great start, and as the young ones, the 6 to 10-year-olds, are so energetic and full of life and have got so much going for them. And then by the time they're teenagers, it's a very different picture. And we feel like if we can fill in that gap, really acknowledge this transition place, work on the family relationships and the support systems, and really build the self-esteem of the young men and women in our society, that'll have a huge impact not only on them but on their future families and their communities.
But should we break down the mystery of the relationship? Should we bear all? I mean, should we not build to a complete revealing of who we are over the years?
I think there's a timing thing. There's no doubt when they're young it's not appropriate for us to tell them everything. But we give talks all over the country and we ask parents, what sort of relationship do you want to have with your children when you're adults? When they're adults. And the most common answer that we get is that we want to be friends, we want to have open, loving relationships, we want that they want to spend time with us. And we say to them, if that's going to happen, there are two things you're going to have to do. You're going to actually have to spend time with them, and they need to know your story. If someone's going to have a relationship, or you think about the people who you are closest to, it's actually the people who you know their story and have a shared story. And if we maintain this mystery with our children and say, I'm the adult, you do what I say because I say it, etc., then there's just going to come a time when our children will just go away and they won't communicate with us.
I know from talking about the pathways to womanhood that one of the big things was actually the girls respecting their mother. And I'm thinking, obviously, it's the same thing for boys. The boys, probably at that age where they do distance themselves from their fathers, suddenly find this newfound respect for their dad.
We find that the thing that boys want the most of anything is the acknowledgement and love. They want to know that they are loved and seen by their fathers, and that has more impact on their self-esteem than anything else. And if they know that they are seen by their fathers, if they have that strong relationship, that will do more than anything else to support that boy through the teenage years.
And your relationship now with your son, are you happy that do you feel you're like a friend to your son, or do you still like a father? Feel like a father?
I think...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't need to be a friend. They've got plenty of friends. I think it's shifted me to having a mature adult relationship instead of treating him like that little baby that I saw once. And so for me, I had to change the way I related to him. And we can talk about anything. The foundation gives us that framework to go there and talk about adult things, what it is about to be a man. I heard you say how hard it is to talk about the dark times in a man's life. It's really hard for a man to be vulnerable, and yet that's a fantastically powerful thing to share with your son at some stage.
Gosh, you've inspired me.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Look, it's great to talk to you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll be right